Good afternoon, everybody. Um, this is going out on a Tuesday. You are correct. It is not Friday. Gasp. So, you remember a while back when I said I thought I was going to be changing these videos from weekly to bi weekly? Does that ring a bell? Well, then there was the holiday spring where the Friday was off. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to have, I had put it on my calendar not to do a video last Friday. And then I realized this coming Friday, I'm not going to be in town. So I couldn't possibly leave y'all without a video. There is actually things that I need to tell y'all and some news and some updates that I want to share. So here goes. First, as usual, I start with all things COVID. I hate doing that, and at some point, maybe we won't have to start with all things COVID, but for now, there are some all things COVID. First off, mask. I know I've heard, and everybody around me has heard from people that are sick and tired of these masks, and you're also hearing about other healthcare agencies or organizations or what have you that are not requiring masks. And you're saying, why do we have to wear masks at Care South? Well, two reasons. Number one, there is still a virus out there. It may not have hit South Carolina as hard as it's hit many of the other parts of the nation, but BA.2 is truly a threat. And it will eventually get down to South Carolina, especially after spring break. So we have to be cautious about that, about this. We've actually seen a small increase in the number of our own employees who have tested positive. So masks are staying on for now. And besides that, the reason number two is the Joint Commission is expected any day. And we don't want to be caught with our masks down. Pretty simple. So for now, we are going to continue masking, but we will stay up to date. And I promise you that as soon as for safety reasons and guidelines, what have you, we're going to see what we can do about masking. Now, remember, we have said that cloth masks are okay in non clinical settings. Otherwise, we're still recommending the surgical mask or the N95 or the KN95. That helps a little bit. So, things have been relaxed in some other areas, though, and that is we are lifting all of the screening that's been taking place at the front doors, making the patient flow go a lot more easy, less roadblocks, less patients not happy about having to stop before they go in to see their provider. And I'm thinking that that may help some things also. Also, we had a limitation on visitors or guests or folks that could accompany patients in for their provider visit, and that limitation is also lifted. We know that that was a pretty bad restriction on patients. They needed, in some cases, having a younger or an older person or two or three with them in order to make sure that questions were answered, concerns raised, blah, blah, blah. So we do understand that. So that restriction is also being lifted. And remember, we said last several times that when there are small gatherings, or even site meetings where there's meals. During the meal, we can take off our mask. We can't eat with our meal. We can't eat a meal with our mask on. So I've had a couple of very small meetings. I think the most I had in my office was like 4 or 5 people, and I knew them. They were our own staff. They had, of course, our own staff had been fully vaccinated. So I felt comfortable, and they felt comfortable with removing masks. Now, I'm respectful, as you should be, if anybody doesn't feel comfortable, because there are people that are very comfortable wearing masks. And who knows, I might be in that category as this pandemic progresses. So that's kind of where we're going to be on all of that. Let's talk about travel, though, as it relates to that. This is a topic of discussion that we had during the COVID task force, which you may recall meets bi-weekly now, every other week, early in the morning at 7:30. So we talked about travel because things are beginning to loosen up a little bit. Face-to-face meetings are still happening. Travel is still happening to out of state or in state, a little bit further out, Columbia, Charleston, for example, Myrtle Beach, what have you. And all of South Carolina is still in the CDC category of community level being low. However, sometimes you have to travel to get to a location, be it by air, by train, by however. So, after a lot of a discussion, our determination was when you are traveling to a meeting or to business that is off-site at CareSouth, you are still a CareSouth employee. And no matter where you go or how you get there, you are still required to adhere to Care South Carolina policies and procedures, which right now a mask is a requirement. Now I know I've already had some questions from people that, okay, I'm going somewhere whenever, I'm going to have to fly there, and the airlines no longer require masking. Do I have to wear a mask? Yeah, simply put, you're going there as a Care South Carolina employee. You're going there not on your own personal time, but you're going there on Care South Carolina time. So, yeah, I have to apply this personally. I am, for the first time in 2 years, going to have travel to Boston. I'll guarantee you I'll be wearing my mask in the airport, on the plane, everywhere. So that's how we want to address travel. It is opening up. There are meetings that are going to be held, but we must stay mindful. There's still a virus out there, people. No matter what we do or think. Right now, we're enjoying a little break, but it really may not last forever. There's also some recommendations, and I kind of think this is kind of cool. This is a recommendation now, it's not a requirement, but you might want to consider testing yourself before your travel starts and after you get back. That's just kind of a good sense type of procedure to do. I plan on doing it before I leave and when I get back. So, other things COVID. I want to remind everybody that at Care South Carolina, we have a lot, well, almost all of the COVID treatment options available for patients or employees or families, whomever. We've got it all. We, of course, have been doing monoclonal antibody infusions now, and we are continuing to do them, even though the demand has slipped down. We've got another IV treatment that has been proven to be very effective, remdesivir. We've got that. The feds also looped us in, and we also have the oral therapeutics available. You might have heard about them on the news, Paxlovid and Molnupiravir. We virtually have it all. If you have any questions about these, talk to someone. Talk to our associate CMO, Jerry Andrews. Talk to our CMO, Dr. Smith. Talk to local providers because these are very, very good options. And getting treatment, whether it's an oral therapeutic or an IV or an infusion, that is your ticket to not having an increased rate in hospitalizations or even death. So, speaking of that, also, we also have the boosters. There are now two boosters that are available. There is the first booster that has been available for quite a while, recommended after your 4th month of having had your full vaccination, which is either one or two courses of Pfizer or Moderna, or the one shot from Johnson & Johnson, and now there is a second booster that is out for Pfizer and Moderna. For those of us who are over 50, are immunocompromised, and it's also been at least 4 months since our booster the last time. I fell into that category, as you all know. I promoted it on Facebook. I rolled up my sleeve and got my shot the first day that was available. Those boosters are very effective. Nothing prevents COVID except wrapping yourself up in a cocoon and not exposing yourself to anybody under any circumstances, and none of us can accomplish that. But what the immunization, what the vaccination and the booster does is it helps reduce the severity if you should get COVID. And as we all know, in some cases, getting COVID has been pretty rough on some people, and we don't even know some of the consequences of long COVID. We're hearing stories. I'm hearing stories. I think we're all hearing stories that are kind of scary about what is persisting with people who have had COVID as long and far away as a year ago. The boosters are good for that. Your vaccination immunity does wane, as does any immunity, whether you have the immunity from actually having had COVID. It doesn't stick around forever. So that's why the booster is effective. Remember, we're still giving the $100 incentive for that booster, for the second, well, for any booster for that matter. So go ahead, give that some serious consideration. It works. Okay, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. There's a lot going on because we are beginning to crank things back up on May the 10th. You may know that the Dillon building will be complete and we are moving into that office. Department of Health is joining us in that move. They will be having their wing over to the side where they will be offering WIC services. It's a beautiful building. And I know that Dillon folks must be ecstatic. Their current building is teeny tiny and they've really outgrown it. Then May the 12th, McCall. You know, we moved into McCall in June of 2019. And if you're counting, it's almost 3 years. We had a hard time in that first year being able to get a coordinated schedule with the Love family because, you know, they paid for that building. So they needed to be a very big part of the celebration for it opening. Nothing ever could come together. And then COVID hit. But now we're going to do it. May the 12th, we're going to have the celebration at McCall. That's real exciting, frankly. We've got a few other things that happened, like we built a new pharmacy in Hartsville, and we're going to have that ribbon cutting and open house the week of the Community Health Center week, which is the week of August the 8th through the 11th, and that'll be a celebration at the Hartsville Pharmacy on August the 11th. Chesterfield, we still know we have to schedule yours, and you're not going to be forgotten. And we probably also, in the very near future, will be scheduling a groundbreaking for both the St. David's renovation and the new building in Sherrall. Lots to do, lots of fun. I want to remind everyone a couple of videos back, and I'll put this in my email. I asked for your reflections, and all of your responses, frankly, were amazing. I had several, but I know there's a lot of you that have given it some thought and perhaps are willing to share even more reflections. I'd like to start sharing these maybe by the end of May. So if you've got reflections, and like I said, I'll put this in my email, please send them to me so that you can be a part of this. Our journey through COVID, both the CARE South Carolina journey and your personal journeys, have been extraordinary. Extraordinary in many ways. Extraordinary for the incredible things we accomplished, the barriers we came and are still overcoming, frankly. Some of the heartaches, some of the celebrations. Let's keep all that. Let's remember all of that. Let's don't sweep it under the rug. So Send me that. I think it's great to see some of those. The last thing I'm going to talk about is that, recently we had a holiday at Care South, a holiday that we have always called Good Friday, and that is in celebration of the Easter weekend coming up, Easter on that Sunday. And it has become very, very clear to us as we have grown and as we have sought to be more inclusive, whether it's inclusion by race, ethnicity, sexual identity. Religion is also that. And not everyone celebrates Easter as a holiday. I'm going to share a very personal story with you. I broke my back in a horseback riding accident back in, well, just to say, it's back in the 90s. It was a pretty severe. I actually broke all the ribs on one side of my body and crushed a couple of vertebrae, lower vertebrae. Was in the hospital for quite a while. Had some pretty intensive surgery. But anyway, part of my hospital stay was over an Easter weekend. During that whole hospital stay, friends and family members had stayed with me because when you're in the hospital, somebody should be with you. You never can tell what's going to be happening or what's going on. And I had a lot going on, chest tubes, so forth. So somebody was with me just about all the time. And then came Easter. And I don't think I will ever forget one of our employees then, Jewish she was, who said, I will stay with you. I do not celebrate the Easter holiday, but I will celebrate being with you. I've never forgotten that. So, our holiday is going to change. It will be a spring break, like many schools have. We will keep the day as a holiday, but it will not be a Good Friday holiday. It will be a spring break. We want to be inclusive. We have staff of all races, a lot of ethnicity, a lot of different sexual identity, genders, and now religion. We're going to honor that. All right, folks, that's it. Wish me good travels. Y'all take care, be safe. There is still a virus out there. Bye bye.